So one of the gifts I wanted to give you is what I call in that packet called changing the track. And the reason why I want to bring this to mind is when someone gets triggered or that psychotlet, you can't do ventral, you can't do imagery. So one of the things that I would want to offer you is how to work with the ruminations, because ruminations are often the one thing that people can't get out of their head. They come home from work, they're seeing the images of what they just went through. The medical people at Central Maine Med or Maine Med, they're not going to get those images out of their head. The people who went into the bar or went into the bowling alley, they're not going to get those images out of their head. You're not going to be able to get someone who's in a very intense triggered state into imagining their window opening and closing. There's a step before that I think that will help the brain settle before you get to the nervous system. And these are both top down, bottom up. But change the track is, change the track specifically is about getting your brain off that overthinking, the image, the rumination. And how it goes is it's very simple. This is a quick and dirty 30 seconds, honestly. So you drop, you instead of like thinking about what you're seeing, you go change the track, right? That's the words. And you match that to how fast your brain is going. Because sometimes ruminations and triggered states are pretty fast in your brain where you can't hear other people, you can't engage with other people. You are in your personal rabbit hole. And it's very hard to get out of that. So change the track goes like this. I'm going to match the words to my brain. Change the track, 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 change the track. So you're giving your brain something to do, and then you're slowing it down once you have some control over what's happening. Another one is, I'm okay, it's all going to be okay. And to repeat those words. Now that one would go like a lullaby because it goes towards a developmental need to feel soothed and in the moment when we're feeling too much. So it's more like a lullaby. I'm okay, it's all going to be okay. I'm okay, it's all going to be okay. Now, don't pair this with John Handy from Saturday Night Live with his good enough affirmation. I'm smart enough, I'm good enough. I know he made a lot of laughter around that, but there is something to do, like there's a quick and dirty that sometimes you've got to do before you actually start to do visualizations. So I'm big in big visualizations, and like I said, in your packet, there's visualizations, there's way to like look at, have mental rehearsals, and those do rewire the brain and give you brain resiliency. But these moments where you do these quick and dirties, the breathing in, I breathe in and I focus my mind. You have to give your brain something to do in the moment you're in your rabbit hole. When you're out of your rabbit hole and you're by yourself and you're just decompressing, you can do a lot of other things. But in the moment, do something to help your system so that you can ease your suffering a little bit more. You can climb out of your rabbit hole. So that's all I wanted to say.
Celia, one of the things that I would do when I was going into panic, or if I was having a little two places at the same time, I would slide my shoe off if I could, and I would like do this. I'm right here. It's right now. I'm right here.
Exactly.
It's right now.
And you paired a word with a movement.
Right. And if I couldn't, if I was in a restaurant or I was
Right.
wherever, I would just think it and I would just, it's right here. I'm right now. It's right here. I'm here now. And that was, to your point, just a wonderful help. And what you were saying, Steve, wonderful. I use nature, and so if I'm having difficulty, then I imagine where I live. And so I can smell the trees. I can hear the sound of the wind blowing through the pines. I can hear the lapping water. I can see my dog's face with little sand on his nose. Whatever will evoke joy and calm in me, and I match that with breath. I'm not, I didn't go to high school, so I don't have your education. These are just the things, and I learned in my spirituality is what you focus on grows. So it's so cool to see the science has caught up with my spiritual beliefs.
And one of the things you're talking about is another tool is called ventral vagal anchors. So every experience we have is in our nervous system. So you just described ventral vagal anchors, the woods, and activating that. And you can think of who, what, where, and when. Who are people in your life that are ventral anchors for you? What are activities? Where? What places? And when? So every night in the wintertime, I have to feed a wood boiler, and I'm out in the hills, and the night is gorgeous. And that is a ventral vagal anchor. I can bring up the cold and the crispness and the stars. So we have experiences. And so identifying your own ventral vagal anchors and exercising resources.
And it's like a toolbox of things that work. I remember I was, for my 40th birthday, 20 years ago, I was in Jamaica and I was totally having catastrophizing thinking, what if thinking, blah, blah, blah. And so I turned on YouTube to Soul Train. That's my go-to. And I danced in my hotel room to Soul Train. I had moves. And I totally changed my state and I was able to stay, where I wanted to leave.
Just to your point, what we're talking about are state changes. So you go from an activated state to a calm state. PTSD changes you, and those are called trait changes. And you have certain behavioral responses and emotional responses and belief systems that get tainted. So you want to do the state changes as much as you can. But if you can't do that on your own, then that is the moment where you think about, maybe I do need to go talk to somebody. Maybe I do need to get these images out of my head because I can't do them by myself. And that would indicate that something got deep in, sort of took a hold inside your system, your brain and your body, and you can't do it alone. So there's nothing wrong for reaching out for help. It's a natural inclination, but some of us tend to kind of hunker down and not reach out for help. So hopefully this whole day is giving you the opportunity to think about where you are in your life, what you need, what's happened to you, and what you need to get back on track and have a more fulfilling life.
Right? That's why we're here. So some of you know me and some of you don't. My name is Catherine Wilson, and I represent an organization called Stop Trafficking US. We're a nonprofit that was established in 2015, and it was established because I was doing some work at Long Creek with the girls group. Manager was Beth Peavy, now Beth Campbell back here. She was the manager of the girls, and I worked with quite a few girls over a period of time, and every single one of the girls that I'd worked with had been sexually exploited. And I thought, wow, prior to that point, my past was private. Unless you were my therapist or my boyfriend, you didn't need to know. But when I met those girls, I was like, what kind of community would not be stepping up to the plate to prevent this from happening? And I believe in people. I believe that we're all essentially good. We might be wounded and acting out our wound, but we're all good people. So what was missing in our community? And what I made up was effective education. That was what was missing. So if our community wasn't absolutely working together, united in preventing children from being sexually abused, it was because they weren't effectively educated. So I started this nonprofit in order to do that. The way that we do that, primarily 90% of what we do is prevention through education for that reason. Like if we can just educate people, we can make the world a better place. So this is our 7th conference. What I made up was the reason why people weren't effectively educated because they didn't have the opportunity to be educated by the highest quality, the most expert, national expert people in whatever area. So if we want to prevent children from being sexually abused, then I need to bridge our community with, so I was going to, just side point, I was going to these conferences and it was like, the minister preaching to the choir, and who really needed to be educated was the general population who didn't have this education. So I would bring in national experts, and they would speak to parents. We've done stuff for parents, for teachers, for bus drivers, for clergy, and I would bring in experts for that particular group. So again, for law enforcement here, well, what do they need? So it's all a part of the ACEs umbrella. So if I'm going to protect children, I need to reinforce and support and bring resources to the first responders who are on the ground, on the front line, helping them. If I want to help our children and protect our children, who are the #1 people who call on children being abused? Teachers, by far. It was a huge percentage. Okay, well, how can I offer the highest and best education for the teachers? So it's all sort of under that umbrella. And so it has to be like weekday, it has to be a time when people can come, and it has to be free of charge. So our 7th conference, every conference that we've done has been completely free of charge. I fundraise, I find out what the need is, I discover who the highest and best educators are, I bring them here and offer them to our community free of charge. So hopefully you have been edified by what you've heard today and how we're going, so I do this and I also record it so we can get the greatest bang for our buck. How can we educate even more people from this amazing opportunity having them here? We record it. John Washington has donated his time to be able to record this. This will go on a super groovy link, and it will go out to every law enforcement unit across Maine and beyond. We did one last October on technology. We brought in Homeland Security, we brought in a national expert, used our own resources as well, and we educated 350 kids on the first day, educated a bunch of parents, teachers, and staff the next day, $18,000 to record the whole thing, and now it's mandatory training for all Catholic schools, and it's on the Maine School Safety Center website. And it's on YouTube, and it's the state-of-the-art stuff on technology if anybody wants to get it. And then we put it out there to educate as many people as possible. This one was particularly important. I don't know, gosh, 3 years ago, I was with Christine, and we had a tragedy. A little child had been run over. Christine, people had to see the pictures of what happened, and Christine said, I can't unsee that. I'll never be able to unsee that. And then another Homeland Security said, hey, Catherine, over half of our unit is divorced. We have a lot of addictions happening. The suicide rate is getting higher. And this was prior to COVID. So it was a no-brainer that we really needed to be able to offer resources and state-of-the-art information on how we can have resilience with ourselves and collaborate in the united idea of being able to support each other and support our community through that understanding. So that is why we have donated this conference today. And again, it was very difficult to decide to go ahead and go through with this. So it means a lot that you guys came. We expected over 100 people, and we had 21. That's 21 more than I thought we would have this morning, and you stayed. So it just means a lot to me that you were here not only for yourselves, but for our speakers, so they would have that energy of actually talking to an audience. It makes a better video, and that video is going to go out and educate a bunch of people. So just thank you very much for that. And thank my daughter who drove 5 hours to be here and support. Hi, Yvonne. You're my favorite daughter. Only daughter, okay. So as we're wrapping up now, it's 4:04. If there is something you feel like you need to say in the group, you're welcome to do that. If you'd like to speak to our speakers privately afterwards, you're welcome to do that. We're going to hang out. But from my heart to yours, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.